Hello everyone, welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. I am Ritu and today we are going to discuss very important topic of GS 2 and 3, which is Uttarakhand tunnel collapse. So before moving to the points of discussion, we should discuss about Uttarakhand crisis. So from last one decade, we have seen that Uttarakhand is in huge crisis because of various ecological reasons. We have witnessed Kedarnath crisis, we had witnessed Joshimath oily crisis, we had also witnessed Dhauliganga Ganga crisis, and right now Uttarkashi crisis. And what is the main point of all these crises? That there was a ecological buildings, there were so many buildings which were built without looking for the concerns which were not ecologically addressed. So from this point of view, this topic is very important, that what are the ecological concerns which were neglected in all these buildings. So moving to the points of discussion part. First of all, we are going to discuss the news, and then we are going to discuss what could have caused a part of the tunnel to cave in, and then we are going to discuss that what are the different ways in which tunnels are excavated in rock, and then we are going to discuss does the method of excavation depends on the different kind of terrains and rocks, and then Himalayan regions too fragile to tunnel. So we will discuss that is Himalayan regions are too fragile to build any tunnel, and then key aspects of building a tunnel, and then practice question for prelims and mains. So moving to the news part. So we already know that on this Sunday there was a collapse of Uttarakhand tunnel, and what was the location of that collapse? So it was collapsed near Yamunotri National Highway, and there was a under construction tunnel which was collapsed, and in that collapse among 40 workers are trapped and the rescue operations are still going on. So this is news we are going to discuss, and what are the ecological concerns we have regarding this news. So moving ahead, the first slide belongs to what could have caused a part of the tunnel to cave in. So the failure, the tunnel which has been collapsed was 200 to 300 meters away from the mouth of the tunnel. So this was the location of the tunnel, and why it collapsed. So there were the two regions which has been highlighted by expert till now, but we have lacked the comprehensive coverage and comprehensive study that why it collapsed. But right now we have two regions. The first reason is that it happened due to the loose patch of rock which wasn't visible during the construction. So when we were constructing the tunnel, there was a loose patch of rock, and which has caused this kind of the collapse. The second is that due to loose patch of rocks, there may be the seepage of water through rocks, and which has helped to tunnel to collapse. So in that way, there are the two regions which has been highlighted by the experts, but we are still waiting for the comprehensive research that why it collapsed. Moving ahead, the next slide belongs to that what are the ways in which tunnels are excavated in the rocks. So we have two ways. The first ways belongs to the drill and the blast method, which in short which is known as DBM, and the second is tunnel boring machines, in short which is known as TBM. So what is the difference between DBM and TBM? So TBM involves drilling holes into the rocks and loading them with the explosive, and when the explosive detonated, the rocks breaks apart. So this is the process of DBM, and building a tunnel with a TBM is more expensive. That's why DBM is used, and TBMs bore the rocks from the front, and in India imported TBMs are used, and they cost around 200 crores. So what is the difference between these two? That TBMs are more expensive, but they are more safe in condition, and DBMs are less expensive, but they are not much safer. So because of that, these two methods are used, and most of in the hilly regions we use DBM method. And there are other reasons apart from the cost that why DBMs are used. So why TBMs can't use in the hilly regions? So TBMs are not much secured to use in hilly regions because it can be only applicable to the 400 meters. On the other hand, it cannot be used on the tall mountains like 1000 meter, 2000 meter or 1200 meters. So that's why DBMs are used. On the other hand, TBMs are very expensive in nature, and because of that expensive in nature, we cannot use, and first it cannot be built at house. So there is no in-house built of the TBM. We import TBM. So because of the imported nature also, we cannot use TBM. And in the metro cities, just like the construction of metro, underwater construction, under land construction, TBMs are used. So because of these all things, TBMs cannot use on the hilly terrains. because of geological region and because of also the economical reason. So these are the regions, and because of the different terrains, the TBMs and DBMs differs, and hilly regions DBMs are used. So moving ahead. So the next slide is about, is the Himalayan region too fragile to tunnel through? So various ecological experts have said that they are speaking ecologically that Himalayas are the young mountains and they are still in the process of making the mountains. And so many tectonic plates like Indian tectonic plates, Eurasian tectonic plates collide with each other. So they are still in the process of formation. And so the rocks are very new and they are very fragile to make, and they are very fragile to make any kind of the construction. And because of that, the Himalayan region becomes too fragile for any kind of the construction. And because of that, we can see that there are so many collapses which are happening. We have already seen the 𝐿𝐶𝐝 crisis. Right now, we are seeing the Uttarkashi crisis. So because of the Himalayan fragile condition and ecological condition, these are the very risky to make any kind of the tunnels. On the other hand, various ecological experts have also said that if tunnels are built according to the techniques and if all the techniques followed properly, then tunnels are not dangerous just like other constructions. But here, so many scientific exploration have been not researched and they have been not done homework regarding this thing. That's why we can see such kind of the collapse. So in that sense, you can say that Himalayan regions are obviously very fragile to make any kind of the construction. And so many ecological concerns are neglected while making any kind of the constructions. So moving ahead, next slide is that key aspects of building a tunnel. So what are the key aspects which should be taken care of building a tunnel? So the first aspect is to thoroughly investigate to particular rock. So when there was a particularly rock, there is an engraving in the rock or any kind of the construction coming to the rocks, that should be particularly investigated and thoroughly examined. What we lack in this country that, these are not researched very comprehensively, and because of lack of comprehensive research, because of the neglection of the ecological problems, the wildlife problems, the natural disaster problems, we can see that there are so many disasters happening, especially in the hilly regions. So these things are very risky to make. On the other hand, in India, engineers dig a borehole into the rock to extract a core sample. So we do prior examinations and we also do studies, but that happens simultaneously. There is no prior studies, and if prior studies are happening, that are not implemented very successfully. So in that way, the prior research and prior investigation, prior study is very much important. Each particularly rock should be examined. Here we can examine the site that, okay, this site is useful for us or not. We much focus on the economic impact of that particular tunnels, but we hardly focus on the ecological impact. But when we are making any kind of such kind of construction, especially in the hilly regions, along with the economic benefits, we should also look for the ecological concerns, and economic and ecological concerns should be addressed togetherly. So in that way, these things are not happening simultaneously. That's why we are facing such kind of the problems. Moving ahead, the next slide is the question. So in which one of the following categories of protected areas in India are local people not allowed to collect the use of biomass? And your options are Biosphere Reserve, National Parks, Wetlands declared under Ramsar Convention, Wildlife Sanctuary. So this question has been already asked in UPSC, so you can answer easily. Moving to the next slide. Next slide is the mains question. Discuss the challenges of infrastructure development in hill regions compared to the plains. What policy measures can be adopted to balance development and ecology? So first of all, you should give a background that what are the problems we can have in the hilly regions and why there is a construction difficult in the hilly regions in comparison to the plain regions. So first, you have to highlight that what are the concerns we have in the hilly regions. The first concern is the topography. The second is natural disaster. Third is wildlife concerns, climate. So these are the concerns we have while making the construction on any hilly regions, and what we have seen that these concerns are highly neglected, and that's why we can face problems like Dholi Ganga crisis, in which so many workers are trapped, so many workers died. We can see the Joshimath crisis, because of the high neglection of the ecological regions, and buildings have been erected on a very eco-sensitive zones which are not allowed by any scientists or engineers. So in that way we can see that all these factors were neglected, and they had not taken care of the ecological concern, the climatic concern, the economical concern of the people, the local rights people, that why people didn't want any kind of construction on a particular side, what are the rights of the hilly people. So in that way these are the concerns we have. Moving to the way forward approach, that what could be the way forward approach. So first of all, economy of any country is very much important, and we should utilize every kind of resources, especially the hilly resources, because India is a country who has a many states which have Himalayan mountains and which can be very economically useful. But we should also take care of the climate change, we should also take care of our ecology and environment. That economics are very much important for any country, and we should always utilize our resources, but that should not be at the cost of environmental problems. And whatever we can see nowadays, that environmental problems are highly neglected, and in a way we can say that we are losing our environment, and we are also losing the people. We are also criticizing the local people who are not ready to such kind of the construction, who are not collaborating for such kind of the construction. So we should also take care of the rights of the people, the rights of the environment, and we should have a sustainable development, and we should have that kind of development which could be beneficial for the future generation, and which could be sustained for the future generation as well. So I hope you like this lecture. If you have any query related to this lecture, kindly ask in the comment section. The PDF of this session is available on Telegram, so kindly avail from there. Thank you.